All right, we're gonna try to go live here. I'm gonna iron out these kinks. It's been a minute. Normally I prepare for this, but this shit show that has happened in society um, warrants this video. For those of you who don't know me, my name's Misty Huffman. I started everything on the Journey of a Combat Veteran Spouse page, built that organically, went viral with a COVID rant video, but I receive a lot of pushback because I advocate. Ellie, sorry, my cat is attacking the aquarium on the TV in the background. But I'm going to do this video before Memorial Day because ultimately everything that I do is advocating for post-traumatic stress awareness. Our veterans deal with a lot of negative pushback from society, and I witness that repeatedly in the comments. So I worry about that because I'm seeing the same behaviors that I witnessed that prompted that viral video in the comments from society. I don't watch TV. I sit back and I pay attention to patterns of behavior. And there are things that happen that are predictable. When you start seeing people emotionally react as a collective herd, um, you begin to see certain types of these herds break off. You have the ones that are quick to judge, and you also have the ones like myself that really want to see everybody's perspective to try to understand where this mindset's coming from. How do we get past this? Because this is ultimately the problem. And I am known for my little social media experiments. I did that with you guys who have followed me on the COVID page during the George Floyd incident. Um, I had shared 5 videos, and it's really crazy, So to tell somebody have the day that you deserve, this is where irony kicks in. Um, by one of those videos I shared was Cash Kelly's video, and then I wound up, because of my appropriate comments in a news feed to an article clearly stating the obvious. That's how I met Russo, and him and Cash, have worked together. They will again when, they still do, even though Cash is unfortunately still dealing with the January 6th crap. Um, his voice is still very prominent, and it will be very strong when he gets out. But I have been afforded the opportunities to meet these wonderful people and talk and reflect and understand and be able to have open dialogue, because ultimately these folks are having emotional reactions based on trauma. It's all coming from headlines. If you turn off the headlines and just worry about your everyday now life, the anxiety subsides. And it's all in how you use that anxiety. Every time I go live, I've done hundreds of videos at this point in time. Every time I go live, I get nervous beforehand. And then when I get into my flow, it just kind of subsides because you find your rhythm. It's how you use that fuel that really matters. And I really want folks to pay attention to what's really going on around you. Look at these things, because when you spot them for what they are, they're a lot easier to deal with. And that's my message for my veterans, especially on this weekend. Remember, folks, Memorial Day is to remember the lives that were lost. Veterans Day honors the veterans that are still alive. Please get that right. Because this is a hard weekend for our vets. And there's so much negative going on right now that to see all this and know that I can feel what's going to happen is you are vicious today, Ellie. Is very, because I can see these behaviors. I don't always know what's going to happen, but I can feel the volatility in society again, and it's scary. But what prompted all of this was I had saw numerous comments, and of course the Texas shooting. And for those of you who don't know, I did work the Walmart shootings. I lived in El Paso in 2019 when that happened. It was very traumatic for our community. So I am speaking from a place of I do know what it's like, unfortunately. Um, and I also know that those headlines that you see on TV that are causing all of these emotional reactions and judgments are about 10% of the actual story. There's a lot missing. There's a lot. There's a lot of questions that have been raised, very interesting ones, that I immediately noticed. So you really need to remember that those headlines are manipulated to sway public opinion whichever way they want it to go. If they want to create division and volatility, they're going to put topics in the headlines that are going to do just that with social media. It's how you handle that and how you conduct yourself. And I had noticed all of this, and yeah, I rant, but I also educate. I use this as a teachable moment. I advocate for people. When I speak for all the people who don't comment. Really funny because you might not see a ton of comments on the video just because of the topic, and I'm going to point this out. But the private messages I get after I speak are insane. So that's why I continue to speak. Even with my stalker bully lady and her sister, like I just get louder because it's happening to other people. And when other people begin to speak up, that herd begins to come together and those voices get stronger. And it's tone and delivery are very important, which is why I chose to start going with videos, because a lot of people mistake my passion in my writing for anger. And I'm clearly not angry, not at all. So tone and delivery is important. And that's an important message that I have for the post that I made about the Taco Bell kid, because I'm seeing patterns, and we have all these shootings and behaviors like we're seeing are going to escalate more violence in the workplace. And then this is literally happening against children now because they're running our workforce in the service industry. Thank you, by the way. But they also don't have the experience and the interactions with humans and the training that they need to develop those skills instead of escalate them. And I do worry because you have a lot of mentally ill people. So with these patterns, I really want to address this and how we can do better. So yesterday in Michigan, I'm gonna see here, share screen, Chrome tab right here. Okay, so we're gonna share this one. Is this not gonna let me log in again? This thing drives me crazy. Come on. There we go. Hang on, I have to reopen all this. I reset all my permissions and it wants to be silly. Okay, so what prompted all this was, where's the post? Right here. It was this post here. It was 17 hours ago, mind you. Okay, so this is going to come into play with timestamps and people's attention to detail, which is what Misty does. And I'm reading this because this is also going into podcast format. But Fred says, this truck sat idling in front of my house today for over an hour. While I'm aware there are worse problems in the world, this practice of running engines for no purpose and senselessly polluting is so incredibly difficult to understand. About 45 minutes after noticing the noise, I went out and asked the driver why it was running. He shrugged and didn't really have an answer. So I asked if he would turn it off since there was no reason for it to be running. But that didn't happen. And though it would have been nice if he were a little more rational, I'm not judging the driver. What I would like to suggest is that the owners of these companies who are either based in or coming to Leelanau County every day be more knowledgeable about what they're doing and proactive about their responsibilities. If you're coming to someone else's community to earn a living, how are you not accountable to the people who live there? This happened to be something called Arrow Homes, but it's hardly limited to them. For example, I can't recall ever going by an Elmer's vehicle that wasn't running, and I can't sorry, this is why paragraphs are wonderful. And I can't imagine how many hours our own road commission spends idling. So why does it seem okay for all these companies to come here and needlessly pollute the air we breathe? I happened to live in another place for several decades in which the air went from pristine to often dangerous, so I can say firsthand that it's not something to be taken for granted. I think the good news is the behavior can change, but probably only if enough of us start or continue calling these companies to voice our concerns and or contact our elected officials to do the same. As money as always, money talks. So if everyone employing a company who does this were to make it known that it won't be acceptable, it would be significantly helpful. I hope if you agree that this is yet another downside of the current growth taking place here that you'll consider taking action. Thanks. Okay. Nothing in here was disrespectful. There are a lot of valid points and there are a lot of counterpoints that are opening a wonderful um, opportunity to discuss and educate. This is a teachable moment because a lot of these newer vehicles, a lot of these newer trucks, their emission systems are different and they don't pollute as much as they used to, much to the annoyances of the drivers. But there's a lot of educational opportunities here. This guy literally is asking valid questions, posing valid points. But based on what I've seen in the Matsu Who Not to Use group, where I posted mine, it doesn't matter the topic that you choose. It truly doesn't. You can predict people's behavior in the comments and the way it's going to go. And some people, like myself, who advocate, we just open up the door and play the devil's advocate sometimes to use it as an opportunity to teach. And I've been looking for ways to tie all of this together because a lot of you met me after that video went viral, but you have no idea why and what prompted that video. And it was society's comments to topics that were in the news, specifically the Michigan militia protesting on the Capitol steps for their Second Amendment rights during COVID, which did not make a damn bit of sense. And everybody from Michigan hates the Michigan militia. So we don't really support them doing that stuff. But I knew what was going to happen, and I was in shock and awe over the comments. And I knew if I had posted my example, that people were going to take a lot of assumptions in the comments. And I left out very important parts of my argument that I wanted to tie in during this video. And the same behavior is in these Michigan comments. So this is the truck. You know, it's got this big piece of heavy equipment on it. Okay, this has 300 comments now. I opened my comments back up today and I haven't even really posted in much in response other than the link to the video that I'm doing right now, welcoming everybody and encouraging Wyatt to join me. So you see, cheaper to keep them running than to keep shutting them off and on. And that's true with diesel vehicles. It's also a lot more wear and tear on them, which also goes through a lot more parts, which is more wasteful. So it doesn't really save things because you're still having to replace those parts, which come from natural elements in the ground that you have to go dig for and pollute the environment to go get. So people don't look, they look at the now and they don't look at the far reaching impacts because just like in healthcare, they want to see the results immediately, but in health, things take time. You can't do them drastically, or you have a lot of other health problems that you deal with. So there are some people. Here's a good point. Reading in 5 minutes of research is so taxing. Like Google is your friend, folks. Why get on the internet and complain and then state facts that you truly don't understand and then tell medical professionals like how to do their job and stuff. Um, Sorry, but mind your own business comes to mind. If they want to burn $7 a gallon diesel, I don't really care. This is cultural narcissism, okay? Because you're stuck in your own little bubble. You don't look at the far reaching impact to the environment that's actually happening in that ozone layer. And you truly are taking the air that you breathe for granted. Um, you you truly are. It's not something that's an infinite resource. It is polluted. And when you go to New York City and you see the smog in the air and you're choking on it, and there's black flakes all over your car just from the smog falling out of the air off the bridge after 17 hours being parked under it, imagine that you're breathing that in. So there are, as a respiratory therapist, I'm telling you, there are health impacts to that. Ask our veterans who have been to combat, who have inhaled fumes, who are dying of cancers at 30 and 35 that should never have anything like this. You're not aware outside of your own bubble, but yet you're very quick to judge something that you don't understand because you refuse to look at anything outside of what you believe. And that's fine and dandy. But, you guys make the argument that don't force your beliefs on me. Well, don't force your little world bubble on other people, because out here in reality, this is not how things work. You'll have to excuse me. My allergies are going insane. So you aren't one of the people complaining about inflation. That's good, because whoever this business is, therefore, is definitely receiving the added cost, and that's true. These kids at the Taco Bell, not at this one, but the one in Wasilla, gave somebody like 200 freaking sauce packets. Like, they literally counted them and posted it in this same exact group. And this is why I used this as an example, because I knew that these people would just be all over it. But like 200 packets, well, the company is eating that cost, which eventually gets passed down to you, the consumer, in increased costs for things, because children are being smartasses and wasting. And it's the mentality. And unfortunately, they're learning it from their parents. So shame on you, because it's your fault for teaching your kids this kind of behavior is okay. I mean, some of you would be truly appalled if you saw how your kids behaved at work. Like, you're going to be like, I didn't teach you that. Where did you even learn this from? School and their friends. I'm going to tell you that right now. Bad influences, like terrible, completely terrible. I have substitute taught. I've worn many hats because I like to experience things, because I need to understand what's going on. So at least this one is an intelligent. Thank you, Alexander, for being a decent human being. The most wear and tear on a vehicle's engines occurs at startup, when there is the least amount of oil pressure. This is exacerbated on a diesel engine. Diesels idle with extremely small fuel consumption will actually create less exhaust fumes when the engine is at the proper temp. It's up to you to do your due diligence before ranting on Facebook about something you clearly know nothing about. But that wasn't a rant. He clearly had questions and concerns. I didn't find anger in his tone. I picked up frustrations and lack of understanding, but that's not ranting. And you're going to see there's just more negative, negative, negative. So this Matt guy and this girl in the Facebook group that I unblocked because the ignorance is abound, did the same shit to me. She tagged some Facebook page like wanting to bring attention to my post, but she didn't understand my perspective on where I was coming from, which is why I get angry with people who want to finish other people's thoughts and statements so they can move on to react. Because you don't always know the direction that people are going, and you don't know who you are interacting with in public. I have been afforded many opportunities because of what I have done and how I deliver it. So you can say whatever you want to me on Facebook, but the messages of my supporters clearly disagree with you, and for good reason, because they know that the person you're trying to make me out to be in your mind is not exactly who I am, and I'm not affected by the negativity. I use that as teachable moments like this. But I was like, you might not want to do that. If you want to drag me, you go right ahead. But just remember, I army behind me. Like I have a reach. And she's like, oh, this sounds like the Bath and Body Works candle lady. And I'm like, yeah, go ahead and piss off a bunch of healthcare workers and veterans and their spouses and attack them in the comments and see what's going to happen to you. That's a very protective area that you might want to retract. And so when she challenged me, I'm like, I'll go ahead and take the bait, but I know what's going to happen. I'm going to be gloating. And sure enough, that's exactly what happened. I gave them what they wanted, and in true form, and as predicted, they would respond the same way. So nothing that you do for a troll, anybody who's pushing back at you negatively, is going to satisfy them, because that's not their goal. Satisfaction is not their goal. So trying to give them what they're asking for, Russo had posted a video asking the left, what is it you want when it comes to gun control? I'm like, they don't know, because anything that they do, it's not going to work. It's not the problem. So it's going to be a blame game, more gaslighting, more narcissism. And it's funny that this Wyatt guy, I'm a narcissist. Like, people who know me know that I literally go out of my way to do things for other people out of my own pocket. That is not a narcissist, but whatever, dude. I suggest you look up the definition, which is why, it doesn't bother me. My ex-husband did the same thing. It's gaslighting. You're trying to shame somebody publicly to mute their voice. And I am not Amber freaking Heard. Like, I don't play victim. I speak up for victims because of my own experience, but I use that as fuel and to help advocate and bring awareness to what's going on and try to bring some understanding and bridge a gap. And that's my ultimate goal. So, I mean, this guy had a point. Did you know that diesel engines after 2012 are near zero emissions, especially when idling, and now they have to add that DEF fluid to it? So yeah, I mean, this was a teachable moment. If people, and here, look, the reading rainbow, the more you know, but here, the more you Joe. But it's just on and on and on and on. Where do you live? I'd like to park my idling trucks in front of your house to give your life purpose. I mean, like, people just took some assumptions here, and you can see the tone of the guy's post here. I'm willing to bet it was only 4 to 5 minutes, and as you'll see, and this comment here is one of the reasons I posted my GPS time, because people literally have no attention to detail. They do not pay attention to detail anymore. They look at things, hey Misty, they look at things, they don't research, as we've learned with COVID. And I always share my sources. So when I come to the table and I am talking to somebody, I'm speaking from a place of knowledge, not from a headline or a news article. I will share 20 sources to my videos. Go look at YouTube. They're all there. But I've restricted the ones on Facebook because, like, my rant video from COVID, it was 2 years ago, and this point in time, the context is gone because it's not the same topics in the headlines right now. But OP wears their boxers with the dick hole in the back. I mean, I am sorry, folks. Like, you would never talk to somebody like this in, like, face-to-face interactions and in public. And the problem that I'm going to tie in here is the kids that are coming into the workforce are mainly interacting on social media. And this is what they're seeing as appropriate in public. And this is literally not how you interact with people. But this has become tolerant in society and normalized. And this is truly a problem. And this is the name of that Netflix special that Z Dog did, The Social Dilemma, how it affects children's minds and especially young girls. And the stuff that they have to deal with now as a result of it, with the bullying and the negativity. This message is ultimately for the younger generation because I'm seeing you coming into the workforce and I see you. I see many of you working hard and doing a lot of things, but there's a lot that you don't know because your leaders have failed you. They're not here, they're not present. Um, a store manager or a decent manager to lead you and teach you the customer service skills that you need to interact with people. Like the guy I'm seeing is really great with people. He's quick to de-escalate things. He's got jokes, he's got a great personality, and that really helps to navigate with folks. And having a aggressive or a cocky attitude is a problem this day and age for exactly the reason of that school shooter. And problems are going to continue to escalate until these behaviors stop being okay. And unfortunately, like with the censorship on Facebook, they're censoring the wrong things. Bullying is tolerated. I mean, how many times do you report a bully and is it continued to be allowed? But yet the people who speak up against the bullies are the ones who are censored. There's a problem in that. And the system, it's in the system and in the process. And that's what needs to change along with human behavior. So we quit normalizing that this is okay because it's coming into the workforce. And as you're going to see with my post, and I'm going to show you and explain why this could have went really wrong. And then the comments and the negativity, I don't even care. I find it entertaining. I don't mind the negativity. I used this as an opportunity and a segue into this conversation that I really need to have with folks. Um, you know, I'm amazed that so many people will take time out of their day to insult someone with a legitimate complaint. It may not be anything you care about, but people are entitled to differences of opinion. What joy do you get out of okay, the grammar. What joy do you get out of simply being insulting, I think is what they were trying to say. Of course, there's laughter and ridiculous reactions, but let me tell you something about algorithms, folks. It doesn't matter the reaction if it's likable, lovable, careable, hateable, angryable, any of those reactions. It's a reaction to the algorithm nonetheless, because what you are saying is resonating with people. And that is why what I speak about resonates with folks because I don't sugarcoat a turd and try to sell you a lollipop. I try to bring a fresh perspective and I get, you can go back on my page and over again. A lot of the comments that you'll see. Thank you. I never thought about things in this manner. I really appreciate when you talk about things like this. So, welcome. And I do it to try to bring a healthy dialogue without the hate and negativity because this is ridiculous. This is actually what prevents people from speaking up, and that's what they want. We will divide ourselves. I share Tom McDonald all the time. We'll buy up every single box and divide us ourselves with a phone and the computer. We divide us ourselves through things like this, and I'm using this as an example. I'm not angry. My tone is not anything. This is literally, we need to talk about this. This is not acceptable. Now, a lot of these guys, like this lady here, we camped one Labor Day weekend at a state campground just outside of Traverse, and the whole weekend, this guy parked a massive white truck and ran it 24 hours a day. It's really selfish and moronic. Okay, what this comment is that this would have been a good time to go talk to that truck driver and inquire, do you know that that truck has a generator that needs that truck to run to power its refrigerators and things that are in it because that truck driver, that's literally his house. I know these things because a lot of my friends in Michigan are truck drivers. Yeah, go sleep in one of them for 34 hours while you're waiting for your drive to come back on a warm day with no AC. You last 10 minutes, and that's very true. Whatever, dude. Try any number of work or difficult situations I have been in. One is being isolated in the state campground with a group of trucker morons. Those trucker morons bring you all those supplies that you need to take your ass out into the woods to do that. But I'm sure you had your phone to take that video. If you really gave a damn about nature, you would put the phone away and go enjoy it instead of taking it with you. You get what I'm saying? People make their own hypocritical arguments because if it doesn't affect them directly or it doesn't align with their moral compass, they're quick to throw other people under the bus. This is not what used to happen in society, but we have normalized this behavior. We are suppressing our own voices, and differences of opinion are no longer acceptable. And this is a problem, folks. People are literally losing their lives over this because mental health is a problem. It's a reactive instead of a proactive society now. And people are escalating situations because of emotional reactions that are fueled and fed by media headlines. And what is even in TV shows, like the topics of movies, the plot, they will use the situations that are in current events to get you to sway in the direction that they're trying to get you to go. And you have, it's called propaganda. Look back to old like World War II, like the German propaganda, even the US military propaganda. So it's been fed through schools, it's been fed through the military, it's been fed through the government. The government is not our friend. Ask any veteran. They don't trust the government. It's the last place they trust. But I'm going to go into, you know, and like I said, this was 17 hours ago that, okay, Karen, is replying Karen your go-to when you don't have an intelligent comment? You know, and you're going to see the Jenny McCarthy comments and everything to my post. And I knew I could bait people into that. I was sitting there eating my lunch and reflecting on God, there's so much I want to say that I'm noticing. And this is a great time to teach people how I pay attention to behaviors and patterns, and that I can sense that we are not going in a good direction. And I was very right with COVID. I predicted the whole damn pandemic, like almost right down to a freaking T. And those of you who have been with me the entire time know this. And I've shared the sources, and the videos are still there if they haven't been community guidelined. But you know, leave the guy alone. Maybe he is on his lunch break. The truck is essentially his office. That truck is his place to get warm or cool, depending on the season, where what he is working on. So I've got an idea. Everyone needs to shut their AC off in the summer and heat off in the winter. Actually, it would be more like shutting your power off. It's not good for the environment for you to use electricity. So these are all valid points, folks. It is all in the tone and the delivery. Okay. So stop sharing that for a minute. So you literally oh shit. Okay, I'm catching up to comments. Sean, definitely we're going to talk about this because I shared there's a strike going on at the hospital that I left in New Jersey that was just over the border in New York. It was my second assignment out there. When that video went viral, that's where I was at. Was that freaking hospital. I am going to do a response video to that and all of that at a different point in time, because this is a very, very important thing, but they all tie in together, but I don't want to detract from what I'm doing right now. Make sure you're taking blood thinners and stay on top of anything, please. COVID and clots is not cool. It's why my video went viral. I was educating you in that video. in the end of April of 2020 that this was blood clots. So as you can, darn it, why? I swore everything was on do not disturb. I don't know how to. I'm on the Mac, so forgive me for all the interruptions. I don't know how to get it to stop doing that. I don't know my computer very well. I mean, I have the sound off, but I don't have an idea how to, like, do not disturb me. I have it on my phone, so I truly don't know. But I advocate for a lot of people, and Misty in the comments, her and I were having a discussion right before this. People are afraid to speak up. She's dealing with wanting to advocate for children who are being discriminated against in school due to behavior issues and whatnot. They're handled wrong. The schools do not want to handle the problems. Instead, they want to prosecute the children. And that's not the answer either. And that literally leads to school shootings because these kids are frustrated. So this all ties in together. And this is why we need to have a calm, rational discussion, and you can see what is happening and where that this can go wrong, and how it starts. Because I guarantee you that 18-year-old did not just wake up one day and decide to go shoot elementary school children. There was something that fed into that. So we're going to see exactly how this all starts. So I'm going to close that tab. Let's see here if we can. All right. Share screen. Chrome tab. This one. Okay. So let me see how this looks here, because I really want this to be okay. I want to make sure that this is the primary focus. Y'all get ready. Get ready. Maria, don't tell them you will be all right, because we literally know that these fears have been following. Maria, your beautiful daughter passed away from the same type of situation, so I do fear for Sean. Please pray for good health. Please do that, because it's very scary to think of that to happen. Sean is a new grandpa, so let's pray for good health. This is going to get interesting, folks. Like, the comments are still there. Like, I'm going to have to turn the notifications off because I truly don't care to respond anymore. I've gotten the reactions that I want and that I needed to prove this point, because, and it's really funny because the valley here was settled by colony people that were brought over from the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, Minnesota, Wisconsin, into this area. So the mentality that you saw in that Leelanau group is very much from the same area of people who had families in the area, or like a family history and ties to the area. So I'm going to turn this chair around because my legs are going numb. And as most of you know, I have had 2 back surgeries and a hip surgery. So it's easier like this. But I really fear for public safety, and we are going to need to keep the Second Amendment around, because if this behavior is allowed to continue towards people, you know, you have the disgruntled veterans who, you know, have tried to go ask for help, and they are treated in this manner publicly. I see it on TikTok in the comments. I see videos from veterans, and I've shared them because you're not alone. It takes a lot of courage to come out here and share the negative pushback that you get from people. And I want to show you how I handle it, because it's very important, because it can stop. A lot of these behaviors can stop if you just recognize it for what it is. It's a herd mentality. And these folks would never, unless it was like an angry mob of people, And we're not going to use the January 6th people as an example because they had a very damn good right to be angry. The nurses who marched have a right to be angry for not being heard. Ultimately, what people want is to just be heard. They want to feel like their voice was heard and at least acknowledged, because that will de escalate a lot of angry situations. How you handle yourself is very important. And my veteran spouses, who have been following me, and I have always had this message for you. Truly have to be cognizant of how you conduct yourself in response to your spouse's moment, because you can escalate that situation in a very negative manner if you do not recognize the situation in the moment for what it is. And this is not a response to you. This is not a negative thing towards you. They are literally reacting to a situation and flashing back to that moment. The memories, the thoughts, the smells, the sounds, they are not there with you. This is not about you. They are lashing out at an invisible enemy, and how you handle yourself. I kept trying to walk away from these arguments. I just wanted to get out of it because I felt pressured by my ex. This was just a reflection of what he was dealing with on the inside. And had I known at the time, like I wish I would have known then what I know now type things. I'm telling you right now, for those of you dealing with these things in the moment, and you very well may deal with them this very weekend. And if your spouse is self medicating, you very well may be dealing with it a lot. And I'm asking you to just stay calm and try to de escalate things, because if they don't have something to react to, they're going to have to find other ways to cope. Because the things that do happen behind closed doors in a veteran family household that suffers miserably, all of them do. The veteran and the family and the kids, all of them. And it affects all of their mental health collectively. But what we're doing right now is normalizing trauma. And that's what I'm seeing. It's like they want you to be tolerant of all this chaos and conflict. And this is new normal. Folks, this ain't normal. This is not normal behavior. This is not how people should be behaving. It's downright embarrassing. Going into this weekend where alcohol could fuel matters, and this is my point ultimately of this entire post. This is where things go wrong. And if you don't pay attention to the patterns in society's behaviors, and you go out and do something that you think in your own little cultural narcissistic bubble isn't a big deal, you interact with somebody who's having a truly bad day and just needs that ignition switch to go out and do something crazy. Gun control isn't the issue, because anything can be a weapon, a car, a knife, a baseball, everything can be a weapon. Take enough of it away and leave people with nothing, and they will find something. Humans are very innovative and creative. They will find something. So that's not the answer. The behavior change is what needs to happen. And this is just for most people to receive what you're about to see as a pushback is insufferable. Okay. And I'm going to set up the situation yesterday. So I did not have time to pack a lunch. I couldn't really pack a lunch. I don't have any groceries. I'm getting ready to move, as most of you know. I have major health issues, so my food intake is very limited. Can't have wheat. So a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, okay, people, and you'll see in the comments, that was a really assumption. You made some assumptions that were very liberal, that everybody can have a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. What about people who are allergic to certain things and can't have that? The fact that I take ADHD medication, and it's a stimulant and appetite suppressant, and that they monitor my weight very closely because of weight loss and appetite suppression. I mean, there's like the list goes on and on and on of the assumptions that people make. And you all saw the comments that I dealt with to my original video, like, "Oh, where's the goober?" Well, originally that video was meant for my friends and family, and it was the first comment. But when y'all started sharing it, and everything, like, I guess it's just because I'm from there, but everything relates back to Michigan. But y'all sure know how to start some shit. You little shit starters up there. I wish y'all had set a better example in behavior, but I'm just seeing this again, and I'm flabbergasted. So I tried to order before I went to work, and I was running late, and I was like, okay, I'm not going to be able to take it into work. So I had a chicken tender when I got there, just to like set my blood sugar normal, because I'm like, I'm going to pass out. And on my 15-minute break, like my first one, and I order and pay normally. Normally I go to McDonald's and get something, but like I don't really want McDonald's. It's just not my, and I don't even really eat fast food. And so people are like, pack your lunch, quit eating fast food. And I'm like, I normally do. I do. And I'm like, and I even in my post, I'm used to being in healthcare. I'm used to like screw your lunch, screw your bladder, multiple UTIs, but I'm even attacked for that. You like, so like I said, no matter what you say to people, I formed that post in a note, because I had been playing this other one over in my head, and other posts that have gone on in this particular Facebook group, because we already and I had done the video on the colony days being changed here, and the freaking hate that came from people. And really, ultimately, people at the end of the day, and if you watch my reaction video to that, they just wanted to be heard. They wanted the council to include them in a conversation in changing that name, and they went and literally did it behind closed doors, got recalled for violating rules and laws of governance of how to conduct yourselves. I'm going to mute my mic for a second because I need to blow my nose, and I don't want to like discuss people. Hang on. The bad part about COVID right now, well, that's a whole nother discussion too, because now we have subvariants and mutants that are doing things that we need to discuss. But it's very similar to allergies and a head cold, only you still feel bad. But no, this is just all allergies. I have major pine and tree allergies, but it's just pouring out of my skull right now. But I went up there. We have very long stoplights, especially in the evening time when people are coming back and forth to work, because we only have so many roads up here in Alaska. And so it took me like 5 minutes to get over there. It's just a half mile around the corner, literally. But the number of stoplights to get in there is like four from where I have to park to get over there. So people took a lot of assumptions, and you're going to see this. And I didn't get to eat my lunch. I had like a half of a taco that I got to choke down, and the rest of it was soggy. And then I ate my Mexican pizza last night at 1 o'clock in the morning, talking to you guys, just flabbergasted at the responses to this, because I knew what was going to happen. It's predictable. This is predictable human behavior. And when you start to see this volatility and this acceptance in society that this is normalized and tolerated, there's going to be a major cultural shift again. And it's not going to be in a good direction, folks. And we need to be cognizant of these things. And that's what I'm trying to point out. So this group is notorious for anybody who posts. I mean, this is like a troll group. Like if you post in here, literally, you're going to get trolled. If you want decent human beings, you go to the Matsu Who to Use page. And you'll see right here over on the side, it literally says admin is only here to approve new members. So the page is archived. Post at your own risk. Spam will get you booted. If they don't like a post or comment, you have the option to block people. It is a free for all. So You are warned. You know that when you come here, you are being trolled. So obviously, I have posted in here. And I'm going to go back to my Instacart post in here. I'll have to search it, but when I get to one of the comments that the guy referenced about me complaining, because I do have my customers that I have served in here going, "You've done great for me, and these are all really valid points, and thank you." So that wasn't complaining. And I'm literally known for my rants. So you're not going to shame me into stopping. It's afforded me many opportunities. I've been in international magazines, I've been on the news, I've had interviews. People respect what I have to say because of the way that I deliver it. And I use this time to educate, and I can handle the negativity with ease, as you can clearly see. Um, I baited people, and just like I did with the social media experiment with George Floyd. I shared like I think 5 videos, and I have the notes in my other notebook, like still from that day. But I shared like 5 different Black individuals' perspectives on what happened and like on Black culture, because white people were literally like standing up and arguing Black topics that they don't even understand, because you don't truly understand until you experience it, just like a mass casualty event shooting. Um, your thoughts and prayers are useless. Like, we literally ignored the headlines in El Paso and came together as a community to help one another during that time. So all of this ridiculous crap that you keep posting is unhelpful. It's hurtful to a lot of people, and it really underscores the underlying issue and pain of these people. So please stop that. So I go to Taco Bell. I had done my mobile order and pay, and I pull in the parking lot, which is literally only like if you get in the drive-through, you can't get out. There's no way to merge out of the drive-through because it's literally like this tiny little freaking. There's like 7 parking spots in back, um, and the rest of it's drive-through, but it was packed. There really wasn't even anywhere to pull into it without blocking traffic in the road that you have to pull into the tiny parking lot. So I'm like, okay, I'm not picking it up in the drive through. I'm going to get stuck. I've done Uber Eats. I know what it's like at McDonald's when the drive through is running slow and they're out of everything, and I can't get stuck in there, is my thought process. Okay. This is where this child needs to understand, his customer service skills are very important here. I went in, I checked in. There was somebody else there waiting for their food that they had already ordered. They were eating in the restaurant. Everybody else was in the drive through. He asked me immediately if I was DoorDash, and I said, no, I'm mobile order, which is still pretty much treated in the same manner. But your drive through, fortunately, we've all worked fast food, I think, as teenagers. You know that those timers are focused on heavily by corporate. Everything with reimbursement with these kids is focused on reimbursement through these timers, and they use it as an excuse to punish them for everything and not give raises. And one of the young ladies in the comments to this post had told me that she quit there. They only pay them 11.50 an hour, and I would have a pretty shitty attitude too, I think, if I only made 11.50 an hour and there was like 2 employees, 3 maybe, I don't know. They were outside smoking by the time I left, so I was a little irritated that you had time to smoke outside while you inconvenienced your customers. Okay, so this is literally where I see a problem with the service industry, because it is hospitality and service, and it's not just a job. And if you don't just want a job, go work at a plant or a factory or something. Don't work with public, because hospitality is literally your job. Um, and I waited and waited. He took a really long time to even put my stuff in the register. And I have posted everything with the timestamps because I knew people weren't going to pay attention to detail, as I always do. And so I posted the receipt and everything. The reactions are, oh my God, it's just epic in true Misty fashion. So here we go. Get your popcorn. So this was for people short on time and still needing a lunch. If I hadn't been on my break, I wouldn't have gave two shits. Let one of you trolls get a write up for being late back from lunch, and you'll be all over this kid. That was my update because I was like sitting there just in shock and awe, laughing hysterically at the reactions and responding to them on my or on my last break. And then when I got home, because it was just predictable, I knew it was going to happen. So this is not really a who not to use because the food was okay. It was the service. It was slow and not prioritized properly. Taco Bell and Palmer. And it's true. I do understand that these kids are coming to work even when managers are non existent. But when you tell somebody to have the day that you deserve, that is usually reserved for rude people, none of which I was. I literally work a half mile around the corner. I ordered my food through mobile order and pay so that way I would not have to wait an excessive amount of time when I got there and I could actually eat my lunch. You know, being a responsible adult and doing things in advance and not expecting fast service because I didn't prepare. So I literally ordered in advance. And unfortunately, as we all know, these fast food restaurants don't start preparing your order till you check in, unless it's Uber Eats. So next time, maybe I order my order through DoorDash so it's ready when I get there and do a pickup. I do have that option. I will use it in the future. As the kind former employee, and I thanked her for it. Good to know. You know, things have changed in the almost 30 years since I've been in the fast food industry working, folks. Okay, we are Gen X here. Get a half an hour. I pulled into the parking lot and there were 9 cars in the drive-through, me in the store. The kid asked if I was DoorDash, and I informed him that I was not, and then I had a mobile order, which I then had to wait 8 minutes for. But you look at the timestamps. You know, yeah, like after he acknowledged my existence and put it into the register, I then had to wait 8 minutes. People didn't bother, and I left details out that are available. Pictures had people not reacted. You know, they didn't read the whole post. They cherry picked information, and I knew that this was going to happen because I do this on purpose. I do this to set the tone and the example. And I'm accused of all sorts of things in here, complaining, and it's like, but you literally tell me I post all the time in here, and I don't. I don't complain. I'm literally trying to make a valid point that you are assuming is a complaint. I'm trying to point out something here in this manner, in this tone, in this, but I'm using a different delivery method, and this is why I prefer video. So I can walk you through this because you get lost in words, and you'll also see that complaint. The too long didn't read people. Well, you sure read cherry picked information that you didn't follow up on. This was a problem with COVID. It's a problem with people voicing their opinions that they don't understand fully. I pulled into the parking lot and there were 9 cars in the drive-through, me in the store. Yada yada yada. I informed him I had checked the box for checking in the drive-through when I placed the order, not expecting it to be completely packed. Your drive-through customers do not come first. Your DoorDash mobile order and pay come first. Your drive-through comes after, and then walk-in customers. Walk-in customers are always last. They literally are prioritized last because you have the time to walk in and stand there and wait. I only chose to check in there because there was no room in the drive-through for me. I can't legally block traffic for a Taco Bell drive-through, folks. Use some common sense and logic here. So I hope you are busy paying attention to drive-through clock timer. Those of us who come to eat have to worry about a time clock, and that's a very valid point. A lot of people, you assume that because it's not lunch hour and dinner hour that people aren't on a time clock or on their lunch break. We literally work at all different times. That's what fast food is usually a convenience for. So you took a lot of assumptions that I was just out on my free time and I had all the time in the world. I don't have health issues that necessitate a certain dietary restrictions, and I don't have all the options that you suggested. There's those points too. They're all very valid. Left, he told me, I hope you have the day that you deserve. I said, so I hope you have the day that you deserve as well. My lunch, I did not get to eat. Thank you for that. Have a blessed day. But just remember, even if your manager isn't teaching you, you should still do the job that you were hired to do and be proud of it. when a customer, like, all I asked was a question like, "How much longer is my food gonna be? Because I do have to get back. I have to punch in." I never said that I wasn't willing to leave my food there and call and deal with the problem later on my day off. I left that out too. So instead of inquiring and asking questions, people just assume, and then it starts this herd mentality behavior that is toxic. There's a difference between thinking that you are toxic in your mindset with traumatic stress and thinking that you're toxic to people and being toxic. This behavior here is toxic and it's not acceptable. But you don't tell a customer who is voicing these concerns, who's not being rude. I was on the phone. My friend would have been like, "Why are you talking to somebody that way and being so rude?" If I was being rude. They're not that kind of person to tolerate people being rude to other service industry workers. But to come out with a cocky attitude and tell me, "I hope you have the day that you deserve." No good reason but other than to be a smartass. And I did reflect back to him because that is a term that you can go back on my videos and my followers will tell you time and time again that I use all the time. I hope you have the day that you deserve because you do need to reflect on how you're treating people for the exact reason that you are entering a workforce full of violence and drunks. You're at Taco Bell, dude. Drunk people literally seek out Taco Bell. Come on. To not have the training that you need to de-escalate possibly volatile situations when customers are aggravated. We get that training in healthcare for dealing with aggressive patients because healthcare is the most violent civilian profession. People don't know that. Go ahead and look it up. It's straight facts. It's not law enforcement. It's healthcare. And we're not allowed to fight back. And we get like trashed in the headlines for prosecuting our patients for assault when they literally cause lifetime of injuries. And we didn't sign up for that. That's not what we signed up for. And to use that argument is terrible. And y'all do that to our veterans. Oh, you signed up for it. You know what you were getting into. They're supporting you to be able to have freedoms to act like a complete disrespectful POS. And I'm trying to be very non confrontational right now because I really need to get this message across about how not okay this is because it leads to more violence and our kids, your children in these workplaces, they are at risk. This exact level of violence that is upsetting you on the headlines in the news. But your children's behavior because of the inexperience and the lack of leadership in the field right now because people are non-existent. There are no managers. We cannot get people to come back to the workforce. We can't. I don't know how they're living. I don't know how they're existing with the cost of inflation, but somehow they're doing it, but they're not working. And those good leaders that we used to have are gone. The good teachers that we used to have that influenced our children are gone because we are all so heartbroken and disheartened with the way that the system is treating everybody. And they're playing into it. And the bigger picture is we are dividing ourselves with this behavior. And it's putting our kids at risk because this is also the generation that needs safe places because words equate to violence. They can lead to it if they're not delivered in the appropriate manner. When you tell somebody with a smart ass attitude, I hope you have the day that you deserve, or greeting a customer and talking to them in a positive way, apologizing for the delay and explaining how the process works, because as the young lady told me who used to work there is no differentiation for the drive-through and like the mobile order for the system. It's all in how it gets put in the computer. But the delay that was caused with putting my order in the computer from the time that I arrived, that was the 8 minutes. I had waited for him to put it in the computer. So there was more of a delay. He should have put it in the computer when he acknowledged my existence, but that's not what happened. And you can see by the timestamp on this receipt that that's exactly as I'm saying. But people jump to conclusions, attacked me, trolled me, and did whatever that they're going to do because that's what they do. But just remember, even if your manager isn't teaching you, you should still do the job that you were hired to do and be proud of it. Getting lippy with somebody who told you that they have to clock back in 10 minutes isn't exactly customer service. I don't think 2 hard shell tacos and a Mexican pizza was all that difficult and necessary to wait that long for. It truly wasn't. I didn't have, like, if I would have walked in and ordered 2 party packs because I was taking them back to work and feeding everybody, I completely would have been justified with the wait. Mm-mm. I I make food at work to put out on the hot case. I know how long it takes to make. I do. And when I walk outside and you're all standing out there smoking and I'm getting an attitude from a lippy teenager across the counter, I'm looking at this going, this is what's wrong with America. We have normalized that this is okay. And it's not okay. I mean, and there's constant complaints with the behaviors. I said, lucky for you, I left healthcare and I'm used to starving to death and holding my bladder until I have a urinary tract infection. I'm trolled for that too, like I said. So, like, no matter what you say or do or what perspective that you try to bring to people, you're going to get the pushback. You're going to get the hate. You're going to get the negativity. So, just there's this wonderful little button. So, like, right here on the notifications, like, all I have to do, and this is what I'm going to do right now, turn off notifications about this post. And that's what I do because I truly don't care. I only left it on to react so I could be, see, and then you never have to look at that again unless you go back to put yourself into that environment. You are reacting off the environment that you create for yourself. So if you go back and intentionally have to have the last word and say something, that's on you, man. That's a behavior issue. That's something that you can change. But so, okay, so here I put, I had walked out, I think at like 7:31, logged in, walked out to my car, placed the order in the app, and drove around the corner. Okay, 7:36 to 7:49, I was there. So if I got there at 7:36, my order was put in like literally I walked in the door and I just told you 5 minutes it took the kid to even acknowledge to put my order in the computer. When he acknowledged that I wasn't DoorDash and that I was mobile order, and since those orders go in the same system in the drive-through, he should have put it in at the time instead of walking back and ignoring my order is what he did. That was the first mistake in customer service. Okay. I only shared this because of the timestamps, because it's important. It's the attention to detail. So I was literally there. No, please leave me alone. Quit reminding me about everything. So I was there for the exact time that I said I was, and then I had to drive back. This was at the destination. I was there for 16 minutes waiting on this order. That is a problem. And then I had to drive through all the stoplights. So people's timeline of what they process in their brains compared to actual things, folks, I mean, assumptions were made. Assumptions were made. If it takes me 4 to 5 minutes to drive back and forth due to the 4 stoplights that are there, that adds 10 minutes onto the 16 that I was sitting there. That's 26 minutes on a half-hour lunch. When do you think I'm choking on a taco? Wow, man, I'm sorry I had to hold your hand through this. I knew that you would behave in this manner because I predict that people cherry pick things because I see it all the time in this group. I look at the age of the people doing it. I look at their profiles and then they come over to my profile and troll me, and they don't know the other things that I'm attached to. Journey of a combat veteran spouse. I literally built that page up before my viral rant. Because I can recognize with trauma the patterns in society. And I'm seeing it again. And I can feel it. It causes a volatility. I really wish my northern lights were visible right now so I could find some inner peace, because I feel too much energy from society when it gets like this. And it's very unsettling because I don't know exactly what's going to happen. I just know the pattern that leads to it, and I can feel it. And it's building up again. And I don't want to see it happen to our children in the workplace because of these behaviors. We have a huge problem with drunkenness in our community. And to escalate the situation instead of apologizing for the wait, de-escalating the situation. We have a drug issue. You know, these kids are young. They don't have a lot of exposure to life yet. Thank God they still have some of their childhood, because many kids are losing that way too young thanks to terrible adulting and horrible leaders. And I'm sorry for that. We are letting you down. But this behavior is not okay, and I'm trying to explain to you why. And as you go through life and you go through training programs and you go through college and you learn programs like for acknowledge, introduce yourself, explain the duration, or a duration, explain, and then think. And you can use that in any aspect, you know, not just healthcare, but in customer service and your everyday interactions with people. And that's what I'm trying to get the message through across here to the younger crowd. These trolls, there is no help for these people. They're not going to change. They literally feed off of this behavior. And then they post things like I used in this banner for this headline, you know, calling me a narcissist publicly and putting it in this post, not even knowing where I was going with any of this. None of it. They're just thinking I'm trying to be a Karen, not even knowing that I had posted this. Okay, so the Leelanau group was 17 hours ago. This was 14 hours. So 3 hours after I saw that, and I'm like, social media experiment time. And I even posted it in the comments. I even posted the, you know, like the link in the group, and they're laughing, trolling. I don't care. I don't care. I'm doing it to prove a point. This is how I can deal with the hate and negativity, because it opens up discussions. It opens up those tough conversations that people have a hard time dealing with, the emotional reactions to. Hey, Cheryl, scary. So here we go. There's like 157 comments, but like I said, it only took 8 minutes to fill your order, or am I missing something? Yes, like I said, you're missing a lot. You only looked at one thing. You didn't look at the time it took me to get there or any of that, or the traffic lights. I mean, there's so many factors that come into play. It's just like math. Statistics are so easily manipulated depending on what data you put into that formula. It depends on what you're looking for. You're only going to see what you're looking for. You put the blinders on when you read a headline that is meant to cause an emotional reaction in the way that they want you to react. So you miss everything. And this is my whole point with this post. You miss everything else that's laid out in front of you. And you don't ask necessary questions to come up with a logical answer, because you are reacting off of emotion, which is exactly what's happening during flashbacks with post-traumatic stress. And this is how I'm trying to tie everything into the civilian world with what's going on with our veterans, because there is a huge disconnect here. There is so much hate and animosity and lack of understanding and lack of tolerance. You couldn't even begin to fathom what it's like to see your best friend blown up in front of you, children blown up in front of you. And you expect them to come home and just deal with it? The comments and it's disgusting, it's disheartening, it hurts my heart, it hurts my stomach. And until we stop normalizing that behavior and accepting that, and it honestly, I've been like on TikTok, I see a lot of positive things Because when those veterans need that public support and need to know that civilians do not all feel that way, it's there. Please don't be afraid to speak up. I need you to have the courage like I'm having now to show this hate and negativity, um, because it serves as fuel. Dialogue, depending on how you handle yourself. You need to suppress those emotional reactions, and that's what all of these comments are, is an emotional reaction, and you're gonna see this is just, crazy. "Oh, this is gonna be a good one." I'm like, "No, not really. This was literally a PSA for people who still have to eat during lunch half hour and are short on time. Just avoid Taco Bell if that's the case. That's it. Your comments that make it good." This was a foreshadowing of what I intended to do with all of these comments. I mean, y'all don't do your research about who you're talking to. Um, and Elizabeth, you're awesome. It's so true that we are all dealing with uninspired service workers. I'm going to suggest that instead of wasting your time to complain, go volunteer to mentor teens at a youth center. So it's not even that. And I'm glad that you took some assumptions, but I do volunteer with a lot of veteran organizations and I do mentor people. So I am. Thank you for your assumption that you did not ask. You could have asked, what do you do? Instead of assuming that all I do is complain on Facebook. But had you done that research, you would know that I'm an advocate and I do things exactly like this to bring attention and awareness to the problem. So I bring it full circle and I use my platforms for positive growth instead of a narcissistic thing for, you can ask my followers, I've never taken a dime. I don't do this for money and I'm not monetized. I'm not looking for money from them. If I want to create something like a business and a product that will earn me money, well, that's one thing. My followers choose to purchase that, that's another. But I am not looking for money or attention from people. That's what a narcissist does. I am trying to bring attention and awareness to a greater cause bigger than myself. And that is the exact opposite of narcissism. I said the problem is that it's not even that. We have a lot of kids coming into the working world. The problem is the people that are supposed to be guiding them aren't showing up. So they're literally running the show with no supervision or guidance, which is why I wasn't rude to him. And I'm not being rude to people right now. I'm not your honey. It's kind of off-putting that you use that term. I'm triggered now. I need to go suck my thumb and rock myself to sleep. I need a taco. You can tell folks have not lived in the South. This is literally a Northern Michigan type attitude because when you sweetheart, honey, dear are all terms of endearment that are used in normal conversation. This was like a prime example of a conflicting argument in the coddling of the American mind, where words equate to violence and I need a safe place, which is what they're assuming that I was a Karen liberal Democrat with this post. Get over yourself soon. I'm sorry, what was it that I'm supposed to get over? Not having a lunch? I don't have a problem with this kid. But he handled things wrong and other people are going to have the same problem and he's going to get yelled at by somebody and he's literally trying to do his job with no guidance. So what is it I'm supposed to be doing again? I mean, like, people handled this wrong. Yeah. Like, asking and inquiring, how long is it going to take? Because if you're trying to be an asshole, knowing that I'm standing here waiting and making me be the last customer in the store, I'll leave. If that's how you want me to handle it, I'll leave. That's the question. How much longer? Because I know how long I had. I know how long it's taken, and I know a lot of things. I know people took a lot of assumptions, but it's really funny. But right here, have the day that you deserve is only, it is something only rude, unhappy people get offended by. I said, actually, if you search my name, you will find that I tell people that all the time. But I wasn't rude, and I was also on the phone, and the person overheard the conversation who was on the other side. Nothing rude was said. I just said, I have to clock back in 10 minutes. Is my food about done? It was a question. So now I'm not allowed to ask questions. So, folks, it doesn't matter what you do, it's always wrong to somebody. This is why it doesn't matter. But I knew that this was going to happen. It was predictable. All of the information that was there. So now we have the Jenny McCarthy. Can I speak to the manager? And I literally didn't even ask to speak to the manager. I didn't. I'm using this as a customer service, coming from a place of a person who works in the service industry for decades and knows that this is inappropriate behavior and it's tolerated right now. And I mean, there are so many people who are walking out. Restaurants are replacing waitresses and hosts with the little menu screens because they can't get decent servers and people just don't want to deal with it. I mean, this is affecting more than just the immediate situation, but everybody thinks this is about a fucking taco. This is not about a taco, folks. This is about a bigger problem. And I'm using this as a teachable moment. So, I mean, I hope you can see the humor in some of this because this is where the blinders come in and not seeing the bigger picture about how all of this ties in. And we are creating this a toxic environment for ourselves by allowing this and conducting themselves in this way. I pack a lunch like an adult. Well, normally I do, and you assume that I normally don't, and that I live on fast food. I'm not. I don't. I have health issues, and I can't. And I'm moving. My fridge is empty. Like I'm sorry. Like I don't want to tell you people, but nothing. Well, normally I do, Pamela, but I'm not always in the position to do so because of appointments and other obligations, other jobs. I'm in the process of moving. There's a lot of reasons why I could not pack my lunch today. Children forget lunches. They don't have like regular cafeterias in schools up here. Do you know these kids get like reheated, disgusting freaking lunches? But this is the attitude. There's just so. Oh, here's Maddie. This is the great one, bro. You're gonna get dragged, and this is gonna end up a DD and in the Great Alaskan Tea Spill. And I said, well, maybe you should check out my viral videos with thousands upon thousands of comments and realize that I can handle all of that. Go ahead with your threats. Look around and find out. Go ahead and test that assumption at your earliest convenience. Don't say I didn't warn you. But when you go to somebody's profile and they look like this, and they want to troll you in the comments, there's a lot of negative things that I could say to you and your little friend Sky back and forth in here, but I just got sick and tired of it. But I posted the screenshots, and I actually, because I think oh yeah, here. So they asked for all the reactions and the comments because there was this freaking Bath and Body Works shit, and now it's, lady, I do not care. The fact that I didn't go out of my way to look should clue you in that I do not care. Then why comment? Why demand that somebody prove it? And then why comment? I mean, it's literally like, no matter what you do, folks, don't bother. Don't bother trying to feed the trolls. Don't feed the trolls. I fed them because of this. This is what I planned on doing with it because I knew, for example, and you can do this in your own community. I am sure that you all have the same type of Facebook group, but like this just goes on and 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 on. It's just like the assumptions that have been made. But I digress. It's all there. Information is there. The hate and negativity is there. And you see how I handle it. I tie it into other things that people can relate to because appealing to human emotion is how my videos apparently grab attention. And it's during important times when things are very volatile that they respond best. And how I conduct myself publicly is very important. You have to set the tone. You have to be the change that you want to see. And being the change doesn't mean, always doing what people want you to do and what they think that you should do. That's not being the change. That's literally the problem, is doing all of that. So it is absurd, Cheryl. It is absurd. It is childish, but we have normalized and tolerated this behavior that we would never do in public. But when you do it in public, okay, all of those things that I'm accused of being, the whole Karen Jenny McCarthy, anti-vax, all that shit, whatever it is. All of that, but we do see people doing that in public. Like these women who have a meltdown over like you look at people, like I have a bad day. I talk to myself a lot. I am very vocal. I try to be cognizant of that. And I do admit my shortcomings. My followers will tell you that. There is so much going on in my brain. I am ADHD and ADD combined and OCD. And patterns like this, I obsess over because I can feel the energy shift in the attitudes in society. And I don't know what to do with it because I don't know how to get people's attention to tie all of these what seem to be random events that don't relate to each other into one hell of a relationship and see how they all affect one another because we all live in a bubble now. We don't think about how what we say and do affects our children, what failures that we are setting them up for, the violence that is going on in the world. I have worked the inner cities hospitals. Experienced a lot, and that is why I'm going out to remote Alaska because it is traumatic. It's overwhelming. And when you don't know what to do with it and try to get people's attention and try to get them to come together, and you're such an empath that it just sucks you dry. It wears on you. But the only way to be able to vent for me is either to do a rant and educate or find a way to use this all as a teachable moment and bring people together. Because like I said, my platform started off with the combat veteran spouse, then it went to COVID, and then I started interviewing spouses whose loved ones were held hostage by the hospital and pretty much murdered. And I'm dealing with one that is a combination of both. He's a veteran's, there's a veteran and his wife, and the hospital's trying to force her to do treatments that she doesn't agree with or want, and she's very justified. And so far, we've managed to fight the hospital off on a lot of things. So I do a lot, folks, but you assume so many things about people. And it's important to either check yourself and admit when you're wrong, which you can go back on my videos. I do it all the time when my attitude has changed or I've discovered something I didn't think about. I'm like, oh, you know what? I need to eat my crow right now. And I will. I have no problem with it. I am a humble human. But when I see things that are really, we're not going to a good place, and it kills me because I am such a spiritual human. And that whole have the day that you deserve, that this child and the way that he delivered that message makes me understand that you don't know where it originated or what universal karma really is. And I invite you to listen to the Mahabharata or the Bhagavad Gita and understand spirituality and Hinduism and what universal karma means, and that your path to enlightenment and your key into heaven is achieved in different ways. Some people can't meditate because of like with me, I'm ADHD. I can't focus like that to meditate because my mind goes in ways, and how can I help? What can I do to help? It's not about me. It's never about me. And that's called selfless sacrifice, seeking to do something without looking for the reward. Have the day that you deserve means exactly that. Have the day that you deserve. Reflect on that. Are you doing something without seeking the reward? You were doing that to be spiteful. I just want to eat so I can go back to work and take care of my customers. You're looking at it from the wrong perspective, young man. But you're doing it because the people who are supposed to teach you have not led you. And we hear you. But what do we do about that besides sit around and point fingers and blame? Because the blame game isn't working. We can blame Biden, we can blame it, but that's not going to help solve the problem. Stop pointing fingers. We need to start having open discussions. We need to quit behaving in this manner. We need to quit assuming. We need to quit taking assumptions with people. Okay? I want you all to have a very happy Memorial Day weekend. And remember, when you are eating your hot dogs and celebrating with your families that I know that you can't afford to travel this weekend because I'm also watching that. There are parents who can't afford to go to regional events with their children's sports or horses or whatever activities that you do to try to maintain your mental health and sanity right now in these really pressing times in a reactive society and not a proactive one when it comes to mental health. And now we are quite literally almost like locked down again. That remember what the lockdowns did for mental health? They can't get you to stay home with lockdowns now because you revolted against that. How are they going to lock you down now? By making it unaffordable to travel with your family to all these destinations. It's a different form of lockdown. It's a mental one. They want to make you afraid. Please try to look at the bigger picture. And that is the ultimate message. When you start to see these red flag words and this red flag behavior, stop before you react and listen to what people are saying. Look at what they're doing and recognize it for what it is and conduct yourself appropriately because it starts with you. And that's how you be the change. Veterans, I know this shit's hard. This is not an easy weekend for any of you. I'm working because I don't celebrate. I celebrate my freedom every day and I fight for it in a different way. Everybody's like, why didn't you join? I tried. A lot of assumptions with 2 back surgeries and a hip surgery. I obviously have a bad body. Wasn't accepted. So I have to show my support in other ways. Even after all the trauma that I have been through in my marriage, I still have compassion for what caused him to become like that. I will always love that man for who he is and what he stands for, and the integrity that he used to have prior to the injuries affecting his cognitive abilities. And I have to be the bigger person to stand there and recognize that for what it is and not emotionally react to that and come from a place of good with education. And that's what is important to me, is to educate. So please de-escalate situations and recognize that we're putting our children in harm's way by allowing them to go into a work environment and into a very volatile society and to escalate situations because we're not there and present, even as parents, to teach them better. So I'm asking you to do better. And this is just a teachable moment. Those comments mean nothing to me. I fed the trolls for the sole purpose of I have to find a way to bridge this gap and talk about this because this is not going to go down an easy road. So God bless. I'm not sending thoughts and prayers to Texas. I know what's happening down there. I'm in touch with community members. I, from personal experience, know what needs to be done. And nobody gives a shit about your thoughts and prayers. They really don't. And you can take that however you want it. But speaking from personal experience of any other mass casualty event survivor or healthcare worker, they will tell you the same thing. Your sentiments will be forgotten when it's no longer a headline, and you'll forget it ever happened. A lot of people are like, what Walmart shootings? Oh, you forgot already? It's just before the pandemic. I can't imagine why you forgot. People of El Paso haven't forgotten. So your thoughts and prayers, where are your thoughts now? They'll be non-existent next year. Just stop. Just stop. Please. Try to be reflective this weekend, appreciative and patient with people. Please don't get angry at the kids in the healthcare industry. Try to use it as a teachable moment, like pull them aside. If I would have had time, I would have addressed it in that manner. I wouldn't have been, can I speak to your manager? What, I obviously see you don't fucking have one. It's literally my job to teach and coach. And this would have been a great time. Instead, I had to approach it in a different manner because even the people who are supposed to be teaching these kids can't do it. So we have to do it in this way. God bless you all. Enjoy your freedom while we still have it. For those who have sacrificed everything up to and including their lives for this ridiculous behavior that we are now living and we have normalized. I'm in just as much shock and awe. And that's why I'm advocating and speaking up. Have a great weekend.